Good day everyone. The target objective for this webinar consists of three parts: the ship communication, ship terminologies, and environmental protection. And to start this webinar, let's call on the grade 12 Technical Vocational Livelihood Maritime Specialization students. First, we have James Matthew S. de los Santos, 18 years old, from Dolong Bayan, Quezon, Nueva Ecija. Second, we have Ranlin Joy S. Quitoras, 18 years old, from Nagpandayan, Gimba, Nueva Ecija. James Carl Cruz from Cabanatuan City, Nueva Ecija. Danilo Calderon from Capitan Pepe, Cabanatuan City, Nueva Ecija. For the learning objectives for the whole webinar, discuss shipboard terms and definition, use of appropriate internal communication and alarm systems, discuss essential equipment used for internal and external communications, describe the three major classes of external communication. Also discuss the impact of harmful substances on marine resources. Discuss sources of marine pollutants from ships. State marine pollution as international concern. Discuss compliance with legislative requirements for protection of the marine environment. State that ship crew found deliberately causing pollution may be fined or imprisoned or both when found guilty. State that for Annexes 1, 2, and 5, special areas are created where discharge of oil, noxious substances, and garbage are prohibited. Explain special areas according to MARPOL 7378. Discuss pollution control measures provided in the MARPOL 7378 Convention for Oil, Noxious Liquid Substances, Harmful Substances, and PAC form, sewage, garbage, and air pollution. Ship communication. First, what is communication? From Latin, communicare, meaning to share. Better source needed is the act of developing meaning among entities or groups through the use of sufficiently mutually understood signs, symbols, and semiotic conventions. In communication, it is where you share the message you decode or the message you want to say to the person who you talk to. Next, what is the process of communication? First, the formation of communicative motivation or reason. This is where you form your message into a word. And then, message composition, further internal or technical elaboration on what exactly to express. This is what you form your word into a sentence. Next, message encoding. For example, into digital data, written text, speech, pictures, gestures, and so on. Next is the transmission. Transmission of the encoded message as a sequence of signals using a specific channel or medium. This is where you transmit the message, like you gave it to the person you talk to. You transmit it to them. Noise sources, such as natural forces and in some cases, human activity, both intentional and accidental, begin influencing the quality of signals propagating from the sender to one or more receivers. Noise sources, it is the noise that you hear when something happened to them, but it can also to disturb your message or you being communicated to the person. Reception of signals and your assembling of the encoded message from a sequence of received signals. In reception, this is where you rearrange the word you form into a sentence, and in reception, you rearrange it into a sequence that the receiver can understand you. Next is decoding. Decoding of the reassembled encoded message. In decoding, this is where you apply your knowledge into the letter patterns, the pronunciation of the words or letter. It can also is to figure out the right pronunciation of the message. Next is the interpretation. Interpretation and making sense of the presumed original message. In interpretation, this is where you understand the whole message they shared you or you shared to them. Interpretation, this is where you understand or giving sense of the message you want to share or they share you understand it. And for the source of this, https://en.wikipedia.org Wiki Communication. Ship's internal communication and alarm systems. In ships or on board, we have this also in internal communication and alarm systems. Because on board, we need to know how to communicate well, and it is important because you will associate with others in different countries, different people, different religion, and that's it. But we have this is the way how this is the equipment that we use in internal communication in onboard. First is the telephone. A sound-powered telephone is a communication device that allows users to talk to each other with the use of handset, similar to a conventional telephone, but without the use of external power. And telephone, it's like cell phone that we use because we can communicate through this. We can receive and we can give message, but this telephone is not using of external power. Second is this technology has been used since at least 1944 for both routine and emergency communication on ships to allow communication between key locations on a vessel if power is unavailable. This telephone they are using this if there's no power because it's not using external power. This telephone they are using this for emergency purposes like power is unavailable. And this telephone, they've been used this since 1944. A sound-powered phone circuit can have 2 or more stations on the same circuit. So this telephone, there are 2 or more stations so that you can use them on that place, but there's no other station other than that. And the circuit is always live, thus a user begins speaking rather than dialing another station. In this telephone, you are always using this for live and you begin speaking as soon as you open the on and off. Sound-powered telephones are not normally connected to a telephone exchange. For the source, https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki./sound-powered telephone. Two-way radio. A two-way radio is a radio that can both transmit and receive radio waves. Unlike a broadcast receiver, which only receives content. It is an audio sound transceiver, a transmitter and receiver in one unit, used for bidirectional person-to-person voice communication with other users with similar radios. Two-way radios are available in stationary or base station, mobile installed in vehicles, and handheld portable models. Handheld two-way radios are often called walkie-talkies, handy-talkies, or handhelds. For the word two-way, this can be you can do both transmit and receive. You can give message and you can receive message. Two-way radio is available from the designated places like the station 1, station 2, station 3, and handheld portable models. This can be available like the handheld two-way radios are the walkie-talkies, handy-talkies, and handhelds. This can be available with them. Two-way radios are used by groups of geographically separated people who need to keep in continuous voice communication, such as aircraft pilots and air traffic controllers, ships captains and harbor masters, emergency services, personnel like firemen, policemen, and ambulance paramedics, taxi and delivery services, soldiers and military units, fast food and warehouse employees, and radio amateurs. This two-way radio is the purpose of this is to directly communicate to the person who is very important for that area. Source is from the https:/en.wikipedia.org/wiki/two-way radio. Public address is application for all kinds of vessels, offshore, port, company, and schools as equipment for command communication, shout-out, general alarm, and entertainment, etc. For this public address, when we say public, there are so many people around you. And address, this is you telling the people around you or surrounded by you the message you want to tell them. The public address system shall be a loudspeaker installation enabling the broadcast of messages into all spaces where crew members or passengers, or both, are normally present and to master stations. It shall allow for the broadcast of message from the navigation bridge and such other places on board the ship as the administration deems necessary, shall be installed with regard to acoustically marginal conditions and not require any actions from the address, shall be protected against unauthorized use. This public address is restricted from the people from the person who are not allowed to use them or who are not allowed and what would you say who is not having the permission to use it. Talkback. A marine talkback intercom system is a simple, reliable, and cost-effective professional intercom system designed for medium and small-sized vessels and ships. It allows the realization of private communication networks between stations on the ship. This equipment used for medium and small-sized vessels. The purpose of this is to communicate with the designated stations where you are in, and for that, group calls or all calls are integration with the ship's public address system is also possible with this equipment.
Ship external communication. External communication is a transmission of information between two organizations. We use the external communication system on ship when we see another vessel at sea. And if we want to communicate to other vessels or places. Equipment used in external communication system. First is VHF. Marine VHF radio is a worldwide system of two-way radio transceivers on ships and watercraft used for bidirectional voice communication from ship to shore, for example, with harbor masters, and in certain circumstances, ship to aircraft. And it is used PM channels in the very high frequency radio band in frequency range between 156 and 174 MHz inclusive. In the official language of the Internal Communication Union, the band is called the VHF Maritime Mobile Band. Marine VHF radio equipment is installed on all range ships and mass seagoing small craft. It is also used with slightly different regulation on rivers and lakes. It is used for a wide variety of purposes, including marine navigational and traffic control, summoning rescue services, and communicating with harbors, locks, bridges, and mariners. This is the example of VHF.
VHF is used for a worldwide system that has a two-way radio that you can transmit and receive. For this VHF, it is a communication through ship to shore or ship to station. This VHF, it has channels in the very high frequency radio band in the frequency range between 156 and 174 MHz inclusive. Using VHF, there's language for the International Telecommunication Union, which is called the VHF Maritime Mobile Band. For VHF, this is equipment that has different sizes, like the size of kilometers that they receive.
Next is the ship whistle. A boatswain called pipe or bosun whistle is a pipe or a non-diaphragm type whistle used on naval ship by a boatswain. It is pronounced and sometimes spelled bosun's call. A pipe consists of a narrow tube or the gun, which direct air over a metal spur or the buoy, with a hole in the top. The player opens and closes the hand over the hole to change the pitch. The rest of the pitch consists of a keel, a flat piece of metal beneath the gun that holds the coil together, and the shackle, a keyring that connects a long silver of brass chain that sits around the collar when in ceremonial uniform.
Ship whistle is a boatswain's call. Pipe or bosun's whistle, sometimes spelled as bosun's call. This whistle you can find it to the front of the ship or vessel, just like that. And sometimes in the bridge, there's a pipe that the officers of the watch or the officers or captains, they are the one who alarm it using a pipe tube.
The last is the Aldis lamp. A signal lamp, sometimes called an Aldis lamp or a merge lamp, is a semaphore system using a visual signaling device for optical communication, typically using merge code. In 1944, Arthur Cyril Webb Aldis patented a small handheld design, which figures an improved shutter.
Aldis lamp or signal lamp, sometimes called an Morse lamp. In this equipment, they are using this through Morse code. They are giving message through Morse code using this Aldis lamp, which is the shutter of mirror through light, and they transmit the message to the other vessel, and through this it is for us to not misunderstand. Sometimes because of the call we can misunderstand the person on call, and for this Aldis lamp you cannot misunderstand the person as long as you know the Morse code message. The three major classes of external communication: the sound, electronic, visual. Sound. It is similar to telephone that allows you to communicate to each other. You can transmit and receive, and also this sound is using an handset. Electronic devices class for use in the marine environment. All electronics used on board must be designed to fit in the small confines of a bridge and can come in contact with salt water, so they are made to be very water resistant or waterproof. The electric, it is the use for power on board a ship, and also this electric is waterproof, water resistance. Visual. For thousands of years, mariners' communication consisted of simply two types, sound and visual. Bells, whistles, and horns were used for sound signaling, while visual signaling employed flags, lights, and later on, semaphore signaling. And naturally enough, this form of communication required the development of codes in order for the sounds or visual signaling to have any meaning. It soon became evident that even a single flag in a prominent position could serve to transmit a clear and comprehensive message. At night, the ships at anchor in the harbor could only show one small light from our lofty signal bower. It was like a sea of fireflies reflecting in the water. In the morning, the harbor was empty. The convoy had slept silently in the darkness of night. We often wondered how many escaped the German torpedoes while crossing the Atlantic. Visual, it is used for the day and night. For visual, we can use flag and lights. At night, lights, and day is the flag. Because at night we cannot see the flag, and also for the day we cannot see the lights. Because of flag, we can determine if that vessel is like that or restricted or something. And because of the flag, we have different shapes, colors, and because of that, we have that different meanings. And also for the lights, we have different colors and shapes using visual, because of we have all of that as different meaning. And for the next lesson, we have the ship terminologies. And these ship terminologies, you can just hear it on board, so that this terminologies is important to know, because we can know how to respond and do the task given by the captain or commander for us to do. Aboard, it is a marine terminology which means an object or person is on the ship. boat or vessel. Means aboard is, it is a maritime terminology, but this means when you aboard, you are there on the ship, getting away from the place to one another. Second is abandoned ship. The phrase abandoned ship is used in an event of emergency by the captain as an order to all crew members and personnel on board to abandon the ship, boat, or any other vessel. This abandoned ship is, it happens when there's an emergency, like you cannot leave on board because there's an emergency and you need to evacuate. You need to go out from the ship to survive. Bridge. It is a compartment at the top of the accommodation block from where the entire ship is navigated and commanded. Unlike any other part of the ship, a bridge is manned by watchkeeping officer at all times. The captain, along with the chief officer, is officially responsible for all the major decisions taken in bridge regarding the ship. So bridge, this is the place where the captain, watchkeeper, lookout, and other officer on duty, they are the one who control this. And in this part of the vessel or ship, this is the one important part of the ship because they are using this to navigate, and they are using this to work the ship. Anchor position. Place where a specific vessel is anchored or is to anchor. In anchor position, this is where you place the anchor, or you will get off the anchor so that it's look like you just rest in one place, but there's position for that. Buoy. A buoy is a floating object which acts as an aid to navigation in mooring operation. They generally have multiple purposes and can be either anchored or allowed to float freely. This material or aid to navigation is very important because this material is giving us a sign where we are or where are we going. This is also warning sign because this one is like a signboard for us if this area is restricted to navigate. And also a buoy can be anchored or floating freely. Sometimes there's a buoy who anchored and also float freely. It's like they are floating but they're not going away with that place. Course, the direction or planned path on which the vessel is proceeding. Like this course this is where you are going or you were heading into your place or to your destination. This is the road map that you are going to navigate. Correction. An error has been made in this transmission. The corrected version is in correction. They are going to correct it by the captain or officer of the watch or officer that responsible for this situation. Correction, it is for them to be updated in terms of the map. In terms of correction, they have this charge, what they call notices to mariners.
Corrections of charts. Number 1. Notices to mariners. Issues weekly. Sections 1 to 6 as follows. Number 1. Index. And 2. Corrections for the week, including T and P corrections publications of new charts, new edition. Number 3. Navigational warnings. Number 4. Corrections to sailing directions. Number 5. Corrections to Admiralty list of lights and fog signals. And the last, corrections to Admiralty list of radio signals. These corrections of charts is important on board because the corrections log should have details of all charts presentation on board so that we can get to our destination on time and safety. Calling in point. A mark or place at which a vessel is required to report to establish its position. On your nautical charts, stick small levers showing the waypoint number beside each WPT. Waypoints in your GPS.
In point, this is the places that you are required to report to establish its position. For calling in point, you can see it to the map. There's a position for that so that it called calling in point.
Draft. It is the depth or height of the ship hull or boat keel below the water level. It is commonly used to determine the overall stability of the water vessel.
It is for the officers or responsible for the vessel for them to see what is the depth or height of the water.
Deep water route. A route within defined limits which has been accurate survey for clearance of sea bottom and submerged articles. Deep water route is important if you are navigating a ship to prevent traffic or collision.
Deep water route. It is a way that has deep water. For the deep water route, you can see it also to the map of navigating. As an officer, you can check it to the map and you can see where is the deep water route.
Dredging of anchor. Vessel moving under control with anchor moving along the sea bottom. Dredging of anchor is important to stop moving our vessel when we will go to the port.
In addition, dredging of anchor, it's like collision between two vessels, but in terms for this, the anchor were collided to each other.
Dragging of anchor. An anchor moving over the sea bottom involuntarily because it is anchor no longer preventing the movement of the vessel. This dragging of anchor was doing when our vessel have an event.
To be added in dragging of anchor, it is the when your anchor were no longer connected to your vessel.
Engine room. An engine room is the powerhouse of the ship located in the lowest-most deck on the aft of the ship. It contains important machinery such as the main engine, auxiliary engine or alternator, shafting, boiler, freshwater generator, air compressor, calorifier, purifier, incinerator, pumps, heat exchangers, workshop, machinery, and etc.
Engine room, it is the very important for the vessel because it where the vessel work and it is how the vessel work.
ETD or estimated time of departure. It is expected date of ship departure from port. ETA or estimated time of arrival. It is expected date of ship ship's entry into the port.
Flare, an emergency equipment used to signal other ships or nearby planes for rescue or help. This equipment is so important when it comes to search and rescue operations. You can easily notify the ships or the rescuer using the flare. Fouled propeller, a line, wire, net, etc. is wound around the propeller. This situation may cause harm on the ship or may cause accident on very crew on it. Fouled anchor. Anchor has its own cable twisted around it or has fouled on obstruction. Same as fouled propeller. It is dangerous because it may cause also an accident, so always check your anchor and propeller. Fairway speed. Mandatory speed in a fairway. We have rules at the sea. When we are in a fairway, we must obey the given speed of a vessel. Grounding. It is a phenomenon when a ship or boat keel touches the ground or seabed. When we are encountering grounding situation, we must be alert because it may cause negative results like flooding that can cause your death. GMDSS, or Global Maritime Distress and Safety System, an automated ship-to-shore system using satellites and digital selective calling technology. This is very important when it comes to search and rescue operations because this equipment can send distress signals to a shore and can locate your location. Helmsman. The person responsible for steering the ship or a large boat is called helmsman. Helmsman is one of the member of the bridge team and he is very important when navigating the ship or in a navigational operation. Keel. The bottommost central part of the ship or boat hull on which entire structure of the ship is built upon. Keel is very important because it prevents the boat or ships blown sideways by the wind.
Capsize. It is a situation in which a ship or boat roll over or tilt too far to expose their keel. In simple words, your boat or ship is called to capsize when it is turned upside down turn. Much larger ship and boat break apart and sink under this condition. So many a time it's also referred to as sinking of a ship. Capsizing or keeling over occur when a boat or ship is turned on its side or it is upside down in the water. If a capsized vessel has enough flotations to prevent sinking, it may recover on its own in changing conditions or through mechanical work if it is not stable inverted. Sextant. It is a navigation instrument used by a seaman to locate its vessel position at sea, based on the position of the sun, stars, and moon in the sky. In old times, it was used as the only means of navigation at sea, but nowadays used only as a backup navigation tools or in an emergency. The sextant makes use of two mirrors. Lights from an object, let's say the sun, reflects off this mirror. The arm can be moved to a position where the sun's reflection of the mirror also reflects off mirror A and through the eyepiece. EFIRB. The term EFIRB stands for Emergency Positions Indicating Radio Beacon, which sends radio signals once activated to alert and inform of the ship or boat position to satellite, airplanes, and nearest ships. It is much like an emergency locations beacon which will inform others search party of your actual position. So, an EFIRB is a safety device carried by a vessel to alert search and rescue services, allowing them to quickly locate you in the event of an emergency. When activated, it transmits a coded message on the 406 MHz distress frequency, which is monitored by the CASPAS or SARSAT or satellite system.
Two-way route, a route within defined limits inside which two-way traffic is established, aimed at providing safe passage of ships through waters where navigation is difficult or dangerous. Two-way route is similar inland. We have this on the right side and in the left. We have 4 lanes, which is from outgoing and ingoing. And for that, in the right side for the tricycle and for the left side is for the 4 wheels. And same on sea, we have two-way route, which is in the right side. This is for the emergency, which is the safest. And if in the left side has a situation that can cause to the vessel, we have this in the right side to take away. Vessel leaving, a vessel which is in the process of leaving a berth or anchorage. Vessel leaving is similar to estimated time departure, because this one they are in vessel leaving, it's which is the vessel is leaving, and for the estimated time of departure, this is the expected time of their leaving. Vessel leaving is not only for the port but also when the vessel is anchorage. Vessel outward, a vessel which is proceeding from harbor or anchorage to seawards. If we have leaving, we have also the arriving. It's like ETA, estimated time of arrival, which is they arrive at port. Waypoint, a mark or place at which a vessel is required to report to establish each position. In waypoint, it is also known as a calling in point, which is you need to report where you are or what position you are. And this you can see this at map. We have this kind of map. You can locate it in the map where is the calling in point or waypoint. Watchkeeping, it is the duty performed by the sailor for a defined period. For example, on ships, there is a 4 hours watch for each officer on duty. Watchkeeping, it is the duty that watchkeepers do. Radar, it is an electronic device that uses radio frequencies to detect nearby vessels. It can detect their location, speed, and direction in real time. All modern ships are now equipped with radar to help with their navigation and avoid collisions. In radar, we can see the other vessel surrounded by the ship, and also you can detect their position, their locations. You can see them, and for this, the purpose of radar is to avoid collisions or emergencies. Pilot. A pilot is a trained navigator assigned by the port authorities to help the captain navigate through coastal waters near port. A pilot has a detailed information on local situations in topography and tide patterns. In pilot, they are also navigator, but they are the special navigator in terms of arriving at port, especially when you are in coastal waters. They are guiding you to a designated way to the port.
Environmental protection, basic environment procedures. Our learning objective for this session is knowing the impact of maritime pollution on the environment. Knowing what is harmful substances according to MARPOL. The impact of harmful substances on marine resources. discuss source of marine pollution from ships. What is marine pollution? Marine pollution is a combination of chemicals and trash, most of which contains from the land source and it's washed or blown into the ocean. As a responsible seafarer, we must acknowledge others not to throw their garbage at the sea because it may harm the marine environment. Wildlife entanglement. Marine wildlife death by entanglement is a silent killer. Thousands of miles and literally tons of derelict rope and fishing nets quietly snare unsuspecting marine animals on a global scale every day. Being a fisherman, we must avoid losing our equipments like nets because it also may harm the fishes, the marine animals, so we must prevent to happen. Being responsible for this thing. Many marine animals are being dead. It is estimated that over 1,100 marine animals such as turtles, dolphins, seals, and whales die each year for ingesting or becoming entangled in plastic debris. Life ingestion. 52% of all sea turtles worldwide have eaten plastic. By 2050, 99% of seabirds are likely to have ingested plastic. Years, many people dumping their garbages in the ocean, which is not good because many marine animals can eat the garbage or plastic there is in the garbage that can affect the marine environment. Economic loss, vessel damage and navigational hazard. As a responsible seafarer and also an officer on the watch, we must avoid collision because when the collision is done, our vessel will be drawn in the ocean and it also may cause hazard in the marine environment. Economic loss, marine industry. There are so many seafarers who is irresponsible because they throw their trash or garbage into the ocean that leads to marine pollution. We have MARPOL. We must obey orders and rules so that we can protect our marine environment.
Economic loss, tourism. Annual loss in tourism caused by marine litter is estimated to be USD 600 million. Many tourism spots affected by this marine pollution, and many workers are affected also.
MARPOL Annex 3, harmful substances carried at sea in package form. Annex 3 MARPOL 7378, harmful substances carried at sea in package form. This annex came into force internationally on 1 July 1992. It contains regulations which includes requirements on packaging, marking, labeling, documentation, stowage, and quantity limitations. This MARPOL is very useful when it comes to protect the marine environment because it prevents some goods to be drowned in the water by packaging it. It also safe for the goods to deliver into every country because we use these regulations. There are many following sources of pollution, especially in container ships. Pollution from hold bilges, contaminated with cargo or seepage. Pollution from lost overboard of harmful packaged goods, marine pollution as an IMDG code. Handling cargo hold bilges on container vessels. Hold bilges must be counted at least once daily and also checked for content on the sounding rod. This will indicate if any oil or cargo efficient exists mingled with water. They must be pumped out when well within the bilgeable depth. Bilges can also cause pollution in the marine environment by having an oil spill or oil mingled with the water. So it must be sounded once daily, and also check it every day. So to prevent the pollution that can cause the marine environment.
Handling bilges from other species, but non-ER. Bilges need to be occasionally pumped from other spaces like boat raster room, bus and store, void spaces, cover dams, steering flat, underdeck passengers, and etc. In all such cases, they must be only pumped out at sea after confirmation of contents. Because bilge pump are a type of marine water pump found on both large and small ships. They are responsible for removing water accumulating bilge wells and throwing it overboard. It's impossible to stop water and oil from collecting in your bilge wells. On vessels of virtual any size, a pump inside the bilge performs a very important function to remove accumulated water by creating pressure or suction so that the water can be removed. Handling of harmful packaged goods. If any marine pollutant, as per IMDG, leaks from a container into the hold bilges or on deck, it must be collected taking due precautions. As per EMS and dispose of assure, accidental loss overboard of containers must be notified to shore authorities. Also mentioning the nature of contents, ESP, if they are a marine pollutants, handling chemicals and hazardous waste. Note, residues of chemicals, paint, and other items used on board for operational purposes must be disposed of assure and recorded in garbage record book. And also, we need to mention the nature of content if they are marine pollutant to inform them. And we must be disposed of assure and recorded in garbage record book to make a evidence and to know the time of the disposing. Disposable cargo. Crew members should remember that cargo hold wash water from holds containing harmful to the marine environment. Cargoes can only be discharged provided that the master determines that there are no adequate reception facilities at the receiving terminal, and the ship is en route and as far as practicable from the nearest land, but not less than 12 nautical miles. Before washing, dry cargo residue should be removed, and the bags for discharge assure as far as practicable, and holds are swept, and the volume of wash water used should be kept to a minimum. Moreover, filters should be used in the bilge wells in order to collect any remaining solid particles and minimize solid residue discharge. Lastly, the discharge should be recorded in the garbage record book, and the plug state is notified utilizing the revised consolidated format for reporting alleged inadequacy of port reception facilities. We need to dispose the chemical from the nearest land, but not less than 12 nautical miles to avoid the pollution in the ship. The discharge should be recorded in the garbage record book, and the plug state is notified utilize the revised consolidated format for reporting allied adequacy of port reception facilities to make sure the disposing we dispose the chemical properly, and to know the date and time of the disposing. Fire and safety. It is particularly important to ensure that procedures are in place to deal with an outbreak of fire, and this should be include the provision of firefighting equipment as required by flag state, local, and or national regulations in properly maintained and fully operational conditions. The provision of instructions for emergency routines and the regular practice of such routines. The ready availability of firefighting apparatus layout and cargo plans to both ship and shore personnel. Explosions can occur with substances other than those classed as explosive with varying degrees of violence. Where such a characteristics exist, care should be taken to fully comply with any recommendations regarding storage. Additionally, an explosion would almost certainly be followed by a fire. When IMO Class 1 or Class 3 cargoes are being handled by mechanical equipment, such equipment must be made safe to operate in the vicinity of such cargo. Electric motors must be spark-proof. This procedure is important on board to solve the problem immediately and properly, and to make sure our crew will become a safe. Harmful substances affect all marine organisms. Tens of thousands of chemicals are used in modern society. The information about their concentration in the marine environment is only available for some chemicals. There is even less information about the environmental impact of chemicals. Nevertheless, environmental impacts play a crucial role in considering the importance of such substances to the marine environment. The concentration of harmful substances are measured in water, sediments, and organisms. The monitoring of harmful substances is the Baltic Sea has traditionally focused on assessing the concentrations of harmful substances in water, the seabed and organism. Statements of the effects of harmful substances on the biota of the Baltic Sea are mainly based on individual research projects. Thus, much of the actual effects of chemicals on biotic communities and ecosystems remain completely unknown. Besides, the interactions between different substances on marine organisms are also not sufficiently known.
The effect of harmful substances is based on many different factors. The effect of toxic substances on biota are the result of a variety of processes. They depend on the physicochemical properties and concentration of the substances, environmental factors such as pH and oxygen content, as well as the biology of the organism. In the marine environment, organisms are almost invariably exposed to mixtures of different compounds and not just to individual toxins. Such as exposure and its effect can be observed at many different levels, such as molecular, cellular, tissue, individual, population, and community. Sea eagles suffered from exposure to insecticide. From the 1960s to 1980s, population of wild-tailed sea eagle, A. Halialitus albicilia in the Baltic Sea suffered from accumulation of organ-chlorine compounds. The commonly used insecticide dichlorodiphényltricloethane or DDT accumulated in birds. It caused the eggshells to become too thin and chick production collapsed. Since the ban of the use of DDT came into force, its concentration in the environment have decreased since the beginning of the 1990s today. The sea eagle population in the Baltic Sea is again stable. Source of marine pollutants from ships. Common items of marine litter in the sea include cigarette butts, crisps, sweet packets, cotton bud, sticks, bags, and bottles. Man-made items of debris are found in marine habitats throughout the world, from the poles to the equator, from shorelines and estuaries to remote areas of high seas, and from the sea surface to the ocean floor. About 80% of the marine litter comes from land-based sources. Example, through drains, sewage, outfalls, industrial outfalls, direct littering, while 20% comes from marine-based activities such as illegal dumping and shipping for transport, tourism, and fishing. Plastic are estimated to represent between 60 and 80% of the total marine debris, manufactured in abundance since the mid-20th century. Most of the plastics that have been produced are still present in the environment. The cumulative amount of plastic produced since the mid-20th century is the of order of 5 billion tons, enough to wrap the earth in a layer of plastic wrap. The amount projected by 2050 on current trends is about 40 billion tons, which is enough to wrap 60 layers of plastic wrap around the planet. Compliance with legislative requirements for protection of the marine environment. General guidance for marine environment protection. Shipping industry recognizes environmental protection as one of its highest priorities, and that every effort should be made to be conserve and protect the environment from marine, atmospheric, and the forms of pollution. Environment policy aims to eliminate the possibility of pollution at source by ensuring that high standards of safety and awareness are maintained, and that all relevant legislation and convention are followed, concerned parties to be committed to the continuous improvement of producers of achieving zero spills. An environmental management system, or EMS, is a structure designed to implement this and establish an effective environmental policy. Shipboard EMS team is to be made responsible for identifying and monitoring any specific legal, regulatory, and other relevant requirements and guidelines about the environmental program. It is done to ensure that the program and its objectives are kept up to date and in line with legislation. The team will also ensure that any legal requirements relating to the environmental program are fully complied with. Records will be maintained. Example, through the use of ballast and garbage logs or incident reports, etc., and periodically evaluated. Such compliance should also be reviewed during EMS meetings and employing internal audits. Auditing. Internal auditing with particular reference made to ISO 14001. Any findings will be dealt with a proper corrective action and evidence of the same file with the audit report. The Regional Management Office will establish an internal audit program for the office and each vessel before accreditation of ISO 14001. Auditors carrying out enhanced environmental management audits, including the requirements of ISO 14001, must have received appropriate training. Documentary summary. The following is a summary of documentation and record relating to the environmental protection and management which are to be referenced and for maintained. MARPOL, ISM, ISO 14001, Company SMS, environmental log, including environmental program, correspondence, minutes of meetings, and aspect activities lists, and etc. Garbage management plan and disposal record, ballast water management plan and log. U.S. vessels general permit compliance plan and log. Deck lock book, engine log, oil record book part 1, oil record book part 2. Record book for fuel, oil, and ozone depleting substances.
U.S. pollution liabilities, accidents, mistakes, and intentional discharges. Is there really a difference? Adapted by For this part, this is the U.S. federal laws. Oil Pollution Act 1990 or OPA 90. Act to Prevent Pollution from Ships or APPS. Federal Water Pollution Control Act or FWPCA. Clean Water Act CWA. Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act Amendments. Coastal Zone Management Act. Magnuson-Stevens Fisheries Act, Deepwater Port Act 1974, Trans-Alaska Pipeline Authorization Act, Refuse Act, Migratory Bird Act, Marine Sanctuary Act, and Federal Ballast Water Management Act, and Hazardous Materials Transportation Act, False Statement or Entries Act, Felony Obstruction of Justice, Felony Witness Tampering, Felony Destructions of Records, Conspiracy, Alternative Fines Act, or Forfeiture. The Department of Justice priorities is the Clean Air Act. According to Wikipedia, the Clean Air Act of 1963 is a United States federal law designed to control air pollution on national level. It is one of the United States' first and most influential modern environmental laws and one of the most comprehensive air quality laws in the world. It is one of the most influential modern environmental laws under United States federal law. Clean Air Act, it is the air pollution, control of air pollution. Vessel pollution, the Act to Prevent Pollution from Ships, APPS 33 U.S.C. 1905 to 1915. It is a United States law that implements the provision of MARPOL and the annexes to which the United States is a party. The most recent U.S. action concerning MARPOL occurred in April 2006 when the U.S. Senate approved Annex 6, which regulates air pollution. Following that approval in March 2007, the House of Representatives approved legislation to implement the standards in Annex 6 through regulations to be promulgated by Environmental Protection Agency in consultation with the U.S. Coast Guard. This is just some examples of accidents and penalties under environmental protection. Korean Shipping Company Chief Engineer convicted in Hawaii, Kyoji Marine, was sentenced to pay 1.15 million criminal penalty, 25,000 of which will go to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation as a community service payment for projects aimed at protecting and restoring marine resources in the District of Hawaii. This one is he's sentenced to pay 1.15 billion, but that criminal penalty will go to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to serve as the exchange of the damage. One outlier vessel pollution case. The government did not charge the employer. The government did not charge officers in charge. The government did not require the employer to implement a compliance program. Special areas in MARPOL 73-78. Adapted by Marine Engineering Study Material 2015. Special areas in MARPOL 73-78. Special areas mean sea area where for recognized technical reasons in relation to its oceanographical and ecological condition and the particular character of its traffic, the adoption of special mandatory methods for the prevention of sea pollution by oil, NLS, garbage is required. This is the special areas where the mandatory prevention for oil, NLS, and garbage and other pollutants. And Annex 6 Regulation for the Prevention of Air Pollution from Ships establishes certain sulfur oxide or SOx emission control areas with more stringent controls on sulfur emissions and nitrogen oxides. Emission control areas for Tier 3 NOx emission standards. For the Annex 1, the following areas are the Mediterranean Sea area, the Baltic Sea area, the Black Sea area, the Red Sea area, the Gulf area, the Gulf of Aden area, the Antarctic area, the Northwest European waters, Oman area of the Arabian Sea, Southern South African water. Annex 1, Regulation for the Prevention of Pollution by Oil. The special area for Annex 2, the regulations for the control of pollution by noxious liquid substances in bulk. And the special areas are the Antarctic Sea area. For the Annex 4, prevention of pollution by sewage from ships are the Baltic Sea area. For the Annex 5, prevention of pollution by garbage from ships, the special areas are the Mediterranean Sea area, the Baltic Sea area, the Black Sea area, the Red Sea area, the Gulf area, the North Sea area, the Antarctic area south of latitude 60 degrees south, and the wider Caribbean region, including the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean Sea. For the Annex 6, prevention of air pollution from ships, the special areas are the Baltic Sea area, North Sea, North American ECA, United States, Caribbean Sea ECA. And that would be all for this webinar. Thank you for watching and thank you for joining us to this topic. And hope you learned something from us. And thank you for your time. God bless.